Hello and welcome to another episode of Breadcrumbs. My name is Reginald Grant. If you haven't had the opportunity to review my previous episode, it's basically an introduction, tells you a little bit about the things we're going to be covering, and such as unsolved mysteries, unsolved murder, mysteries and crimes, missing persons, and I'm even going to cover some of the cases that have gone through the judicial process and with the conviction that needs a second look. So today I'm going to be covering the unsolved murder mystery of Missy Bevers. There are, as a reference point, 3 videos on my playlist. I suggest that you review them. It will serve as a reference about the things of this case that I'm going to be covering. One of the videos is from the inside the church. The second is a parking lot video from a sporting goods store which is located across the street several hundred yards from the church. It shows a mysterious car driving in their parking lot, flashing their lights in the morning of Missy Bevers' murder. There is also a video from one of the news programs, Inside Edition, where they videotape an individual by the name of Bobby Wayne Henry, who was doing security for the family at the memorial service for Missy Bevers. Now, this interesting fact here is that he had a similar walk to the person that was seen in the video of the church, inside the church. The police did investigate him, and doing a search of his house and his electronic equipment, they found child pornography on his computer, and they arrested him on that particular charge. No other charges are related to the death and the murder of Missy Bevers have been filed as of yet, and they haven't mentioned if there's any link or evidence suggesting that he's involved in this particular case. Now let's move on. Basically, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the victim, Missy Bevers. I'm going to talk about cause of death, the church surveillance video, the motive behind this killing per the police, and I'm also going to debunk that particular motive because there are no facts to support it. I'm going to talk about the disguise of the individual who was seen in the video, and a little bit about what I perceive and observe about this individual as regarding his background. Then I'll probably just throw my little 2 cents of gumshoe detective work or investigative work in there about how I might proceed with this particular case. I don't think it's a particularly hard case to solve, but it does require a little more digging thus far. And of course, a lot of things may not be or have not been released to the public, so there's still a little bit of unknown factor in this particular case. So let's get right into it. Missy Bevers was a 45-year-old fitness trainer. She was supposed to conduct a class 2016. The class was supposed to be held outside, but due to the weather, they had to move it inside of the church. Unfortunately, when the students got there, they found her deceased, and per the police report, there were multiple puncture wounds to her head and upper torso. Now, Missy Bevers was a married woman with kids. There was some mention or hearsay out there about a possible affair, but I'm not going to concentrate on it because to me, while it might serve as a motive, I'm not going to cover that particular aspect in any depth because I'm going to concentrate on basically what I observed about this individual in the church surveillance video. So now The church surveillance video, which is about 2 minutes, of course, was released by the police in hopes of solving this crime. And this individual is seen walking through the hallway, opening doors, breaking into some doors. He's not in any particular rush. It seems to be aimlessly looking in doors, not looking in doors and offices, not spending much time, if any, in any particular room. Now, apparently they were pretty sure that there was no silent alarm, because according to reports, it's been over 30 minutes inside of a church. Now, a distinct thing about this individual, other than disguise, is his walk. The police there have been some reports, well, they don't know if it's male or female, and I'm sure it's a male. And in the video, you can see the peculiar walk of this individual, his gait. It could have been faked, of course, but to me it looks pretty like a natural walk, something that may have spun out of an early childhood ailment or an accident later on in life. Nonetheless, it's pretty distinctive, and in addition to how his feet are pointed out, he seems to be walking with a little hunched over slightly. Now, the police originally thought that the motive for this was a robbery, but the problem with that, as far as I know from reports, is nothing was reported stolen. So you can't really, there's really no robbery. You can't have a theft or robbery if nothing was taken per se. There is one part in the video where you see something in his hand. It looks like a small box about the size of a cigarette carton. Can't really tell what it is, so you really can't say, okay, maybe it was something really valuable, or maybe it was something that he brought with him in order to execute this crime. Who knows? And also, as you can look at the video, he's doesn't spend any time anywhere. I'm sure there are things that were laying around, such as computers, maybe TVs and audio equipment that he could have easily taken and sold, pawned, or whatever at a later date. So now I'm going to go into the individual that's seen in this video, give you some about what I observed from this individual. Now he looks to be about, 5'9", 5'10", as such. It's hard to determine his weight. His height. And his weight, I would put it around 200 pounds, maybe a little more. Now, because of the disguise of the fake police uniform, that also is basically just a guess as to what this individual's weight and height is. Now, I believe he's Caucasian. There's a small possibility it could be Hispanic. And this individual is not complex. I think he's from a small town somewhere, West Texas or South Texas, maybe the San Antonio area. One of those things I would say about that is someone would have noticed his walk after reviewing this video and would have said that his peculiar walk is something that stood out and might be an interest to police. So, in addition to this individual's walk, he had on a fake SWAT or police uniform. Now, to me, that's a little bit of a clue in itself about this individual. And if you wanted to disguise yourself to rob a church, and of course it was Monday morning, so on Sunday they had collections, and possibly there's money from that inside the church. But I would guess that a church of that size or what have you would have had a safe or a night deposit on Sunday. And this individual who had on this SWAT uniform, again, if you're going to rob something and you're trying to hide your identity, any hat, mask, and clothes, hoodie would do. But this was an overkill. This was went to an extreme to put on a fake police uniform, and I think it served two purposes. One, I think that in order to not arouse suspicion or to cause panic and to gain Missy Bevers' trust, because she was a fitness trainer and she would have been able to outrun an individual had he come up on her in the church. Now, if that walk is true, then he would not have been able to capture her or to prevent her from getting away from him. And now the second reason for that uniform is, I think it says something about his background. I think this individual has most likely been arrested and been in prison and or a mental institution as a result of a crime. But it's a small possibility that this individual could have worked in the Texas prison system. Now, that's based on my observation. I think if you put on a fake uniform, you're trying to, and you know your intent is to commit a crime or murder, that would hopefully throw the scent of suspicion away from something that it's part of your background. Now let's go back to the individual of Bobby Wayne Henry. Now he was a former police officer, and he stated, or there was reports that stated that he had a like uniform, but it didn't fit anymore. Now this particular individual was hired by, quote unquote, the family or the husband to do security at the memorial. To me, that's really convenient to have a guy that, now they haven't released any information regarding any possible connection to the murder of Missy Bevers, but if you're the husband and you've already said in public that the walk of the individual in the church surveillance is pretty peculiar and it stands out, I would think that would have popped in your mind, across your mind, when you hired this individual to do security at your wife's memorial. Now, a lot of things could have been overlooked, but to me that just seems a little bit too convenient. And then he's later arrested for an unrelated charge. So let's move on. I've talked about this individual's the guy in disguise. I talked about a little bit about his background that I perceive is his background. And let's wrap this up by saying, again, I don't believe this is a hard case to solve. The car that was seen on video, surveillance video of the sporting goods store, it's pretty peculiar that a car would drive into that parking lot and flash its lights. As to, I mean, is there a warning sign? A warning sign about what? You know, I mean, obviously there were no quote unquote people walking around. It wasn't a heavily traffic area, so you have to think that either that was sort of staged, and knowing that that surveillance camera was there and that it might be reviewed in relation to this particular crime. Who knows? So, in conclusion, I'm going to leave you with the fact that I would, if as a suggestion, consider distributing the church surveillance video to some of the prison systems and some of the mental hospital installations in the state of Texas, basically in South Texas and West Texas. And I believe that they would most likely get a hit or come up with suspects. So, of course, there are things that are not known in this case at the present time because the police don't want to release any vital information that may jeopardize their case. Understood. And this is going to conclude my overview of this particular case. If anything comes around, I will update this case and at some point in time. For my next case or story, I'm going to be talking about the unsolved missing person of Michael Chambers. He was a retired Dallas firefighter who went missing in the early mornings of March 17th, 2017. So, thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you soon. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in my comments section. Also, I hope you will subscribe and hit that like button. And you can reach me at dalreggie@outlook.com. That is DALLREGGIE @outlook.com. Thank you for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you back soon.